Hello listeners and viewers, welcome back to episode 2 of YouTuber Spotlights. This is your host James Petford speaking, and I'd like to thank our very special guest NeoGameSpark for helping us out. I managed to get him off his very busy schedule to help us out with this podcast. Okay, so for those people who don't know what this podcast is about, it's basically a simple FAQ or a Q&A sort of podcast where I ask the guest a bunch of questions about their history on their YouTube and a bunch of other stuff relating to their YouTube channel. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Chris will have some interesting answers for us in this episode. So without further ado, let's get started with the questions. So Chris, what made you decide to make videos on the internet to begin with? When did you first start off?
Well, my whole first experiences with the site known as YouTube can date back to around 2005, when my sister, this is back in the days when we only had one computer in the house, she was checking her email, and her friend sent her a video on a Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, and we were looking at that, and there was this site called YouTube, and people were uploading videos, from anything they could think of, and, I really got interested in the site. So after that, I was on the site that night for another 2 hours. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And this is back before YouTube became, the #1 video hosting website in the world. It was sort of a small thing, small community-driven thing, and without even knowing it, within a year, I created my first YouTube account, which was called Qmon. And on that account, I really didn't do much until 2007. I was the average YouTuber, answering comments and watching videos, favoriting and such. And it was pretty fun. But like in 2007, I really wanted to branch off and actually do something. So I started to upload gameplay videos of various Naruto games. I would do text videos discussing the information, just giving out general knowledge, and I did that for quite a while until my account ended up being banned from YouTube because of copyright related material, which is a whole nother topic altogether. And then around 2008, I opened up a second account, which is called Qmon 2, and I basically sort of did the same thing I did on my first account, but I started to incorporate other things like actually talk more on video gaming. I was talking about how to hack your Wii and put certain programs on it, and I actually started up my first vlogs where I would appear on camera and I would talk about things going on in my life, relating to anime, video games, manga, just anything I would talk about. And I did that for quite a while. I grew my fan base, and sadly that account ended up getting banned as well for the same BS reasons.
Copyright again, is it?
Yeah, it was copyright. Back then, it was either TV Tokyo or Tomy who ended up banning my accounts because I had Naruto-related media, which was weird because it wasn't anything related to the anime. It was just video game gameplay, which honestly I don't really see as really bad when it comes to copyright. I mean, it's not like the anime where if you watch it, you've watched it. A video game, you're watching gameplay, it's not like you're pirating it at all,
It's always been a hazy thing, isn't it? Copyright on YouTube. You can always argue. You've got, people doing Let's Plays and stuff on YouTube and stuff like that, and companies claiming copyright on them, when you could argue it's bringing a bigger audience to the franchise or whatever video you're doing. So yeah, you started back even before YouTube was even a big hit in 2006. Can you... has the site changed in the years that you've first compared to now? Has it changed a lot, YouTube, in your opinion?
Definitely. The site has changed a lot. I mean, a lot of the things that we would see now would be just so crazy back then. I mean, YouTube was very basic back then. You had the small 4:3 video screen. You can add comments, rate videos, and that's pretty much all you would be able to do. It's not like nowadays where you can incorporate Facebook and Twitter and all these other features and trending and all that stuff. And I think that the fact that the site was so basic is why I really enjoyed it, because there wasn't all this fancy smancy stuff you had to do in order to get a good enjoyment out of it. You didn't have to memorize all of these complex, convoluted layouts. You didn't have to do any of these things, It was just simple fun, and, it wasn't until it started to become a more mainstream thing is when it really started to get corrupt, YouTube taking priority for the more bigger well-known YouTubers, and the little guy, the middleman, always gets screwed out in the end because we want to make good content, but when you got these YouTube whores, if you want to say, who are cheating the system, all this BS, it really can hurt the little guy in the end.
Yeah, I better not start. Basically, I can write a whole novel about how I hate things have changed on the internet. So I won't go in. I won't go into. I think you're familiar with my opinions and stuff. But as time went on, you have a fairly big fan base now. You've accumulated well over, at the time of recording this, you've accumulated over 18,000 subscribers. Congratulations on that, by the way. Did you ever imagine that you'll ever become I'd like to call you a celebrity in the anime world? Do you ever think you'll ever get that particular size on your channel?
No, I never really expected that. It's because when I went on YouTube, I never, contrary to popular belief, I never really went onto YouTube to try to, make it big, get money, do all this stuff that what everybody nowadays wants to do. I just was a guy who wanted to do what I like to do. I like to talk about video games, anime, manga, get my opinions out there. That was really all I wanted to do, and I guess there was a lot of people who shared my same views and opinions, and who kept watching me for what I did, the content. So without even knowing, the subscriber count went up, the video views kept going up. I was like, wow, I really hold something apparently. And to this day, honestly, I never really cared much for how many views I get or how many subscribers I get per day, because at the end, it's all about, uploading the video, getting my thoughts out there, and seeing what other people would have to say on it, because it's better to have people talk to you about your video and such, and give you constructive criticism, give their own views on and opinions, and actually generate conversation, as opposed to a video getting 1 million views. You're not really gaining anything out of it except for monetary value. Monetary value is cool and all. If you love what you want to do and you can make money off it, great, but you should never strive to do YouTube, which is, a free site. You're not losing anything in the end just for the monetary income.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. I'm sort of personally, I'm conflicting about on the partnership program where, as you were saying, you can basically get paid for making content on YouTube, which is fine in itself. But I guess, as you said, I agree with you on. I guess the site become corrupted over time. People's motivations for making videos change for the most part. It's not the case with everybody, but it's mostly a place where the bigger partnership channels, whatever they are, you've got the Fred, and you've got the other one, you've got NeoGameSpark, you've got all sorts of the other ones that countless others that basically, in my view, you can disagree with me, viewers out there, but the site has changed. The motivations for making videos, people just release a really short, really rushed productions just to get views on YouTube. Do you agree with that to a certain degree?
Definitely, yeah. I see a lot of people. It's when they get the partnership, at first it starts out great, you're still putting out the same level of content, but after a while, people, they lose sight of what they really want to do on YouTube. Is it about making great content, or is it about just making money? Because you can generally see a shift in the quality of videos, the content of how people are doing the videos, exactly what are they doing. Because I've seen people start out really small, make great videos, and they got partnerships and they fell to the corruption. They started using bots, they started whoring themselves out for likes and subs and all that stuff, and whatever the latest trending topic is in pop culture. It's corruption. Money, the money is not the root of all evil. It's the greed for money that really corrupts people. And even with YouTube, even if people weren't I think if people were making money on YouTube, the site would have far less corruption going around.
Well, yes, exactly, but you could. I guess some people do argue that, of course, it's fair enough. You can, if you make good videos, I think you should get paid for it. But a lot of people.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And money is because YouTube is no longer the small site it used to be, and things changed over time. And then when Google purchased things, and things changed, and it's certainly a difficult place to make videos well, and get noticed as well on the internet now, because you've got the established franchise, let's call them franchises, or YouTube franchises, that the channels that make an awful lot of money for Google, which pays for the massive server space where all these videos are being hosted. So yeah, it's very difficult for everybody. I just wanted to ask, like, was it difficult for you in the early days to get noticed, like on the internet, or do you think it's gotten easier over time, or do you think it's the complete opposite of that?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I never really cared much for like video views. You know, I mean, like, I think over time, your video views would generally get more, obviously, because, you know, as your fan base builds up, you know, they introduce you to more people, and then you start watching other people's videos, you comment, they watch your videos. But I never really sat down and noticed my videos from like years and years ago to see how many views they got. I think it just honestly depends on how people do it. You know, because some people, like, they'll talk about a very niche topic, and, you know, depending on if there's enough of an audience, they might get views or not. But we're seeing a trend where people like to talk about whatever's going on in the industry, like, oh, Kim Kardashian, yeah, this, that, just to get some sort of attention. But that's the bad thing. It's because everybody's going to be talking about that. Everybody's going to be whoring themselves out on it, you know, that literally no originality can come from it.
Yeah, exactly. You see an awful lot of that on the internet. So, okay, you've done an awful lot of videos on your YouTube channel. Are there any particular videos that stand out for you, good or bad? If you want to start off with a good... Is there a particular video that you made that you are really proud of for whatever reason?
Well, that's kind of hard to think about. It's because when you're making the videos, going through it, it's like, man, wow, I was really proud of that video. It's like, oh man, how do I answer a question?
I've stumped you, haven't I?
Yeah,
You've really got to think about this.
I never really thought of that. But honestly, I'd say, like, the videos that I was really proud of, like, I could consider from, like, last year, it would have to be the video. It was a two-part video that I did on the Amazing Spider-Man reboot. And, you know, generally thinking about it, a lot of people were not so happy for the idea of a reboot. And I was like one of the, I was not one of the few people, but like out of my circle of friends who really actively talked about and supported the idea of the reboot. And, you know, I laid my grounds, you know, what I had to say, you know, why this is a good idea. And I was really proud about that. Because, like, I got a lot of good feedback on it, because there were a lot of people who were like, you know what, even though I don't fully support the idea of a reboot, your video really taught me that, you know, some good things can come from it. Thank you for this. Like, even when you can convince the naysayers, you know, then that's when I think you have a good video. I mean, it's all about how you affect a person's life with your video. Like, not like something groundbreaking, like, oh yeah, go donate to this organization. I mean, like, if you can make an impact on somebody with a video, not just something that they're going to watch and, oh, forget about it within 3 minutes. If you can make an impact and make them think about something, I think you've done a good job.
So yeah, it's a good feeling when you think you've accomplished, like, when you essentially, even when you think about if you record a video and you know deep down that there's the possibility that you might even anger your fan base, for instance, you still do it. You're still proud of it because you basically stuck to your guns, and like, it's satisfying to know that you've released a video and you were able to state your own opinion. So I wanted to. This leads into my next question, because of your massive fan base again, because you got quite a cult following in the anime community. You've got quite a lot of subscribers. Were you ever concerned at any point, like releasing a video that might anger or split your fan base down the middle, or aren't you really concerned about that?
Really not necessarily. Not necessarily. I would ever think that, oh, if I release this video, nobody's gonna like me. I just wanted to get my opinion out there. I guess, like, one instance of this where my fan base was really divided down the middle would have to be a video I did almost 3 years ago. Good God. Well, it was about when Naruto Shippuden would be airing on Disney XD, and, you know, at first thought everyone was like, oh my God, I can't believe this, it's gonna suck, edits, and, you know, for like 5 minutes I was like that, but then I sort of sat down and unbiasedly thought about this, how, you know, it's not really affecting me anyway, because, you know, we have other alternatives to watch it. And to this day, it would still be considered a sort of controversial video because a lot of people don't like what they did to it on Disney XD, which is fair enough. But then again, you have the level-headed people saying, well, you know, there are other alternatives. We have the uncut DVDs, we have Hulu, we have Netflix. So I guess that would be my most controversial video on that aspect, because I just went against the opinions of like the average anime goer when they think of this show on this certain network.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess you get because of your massive fan, but I guess you every now and then you do get a video which some people don't like, and like even some of your most hardcore fans will seek to criticize you for not agreeing with them, which I always find a little bit bizarre. I would have thought a good fan base is a fan base that, of course, like they got expectations of you to make certain videos, of course, but you've got to try and make videos that are entertaining for them, and like try and make them think outside the box a little more, and not think about the other opinions and consider them in more detail and stuff like that. I just wanted to know in more detail. Don't you ever get of course, like the anime fan base as a whole has got some really hardcore fans and stuff, and like some of the opinions that you say in your videos are not going to be liked by everybody. Again, don't you ever get concerned that some of these fans start spreading hate mail about you and stuff like that because of your popularity? Have you ever thought about that, or again, are you not really concerned about that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. Like, the thing that I think people, if they want to start out YouTube, and they have to understand, is that you got to embrace the hate, because no matter how good a video maker you are, no matter how great a public speaker you are, someone somewhere is always going to find a reason to dislike your video, to send you a nasty message in comments. And, you know, when I first started out, I took some of those bad messages to heart, because it's like, oh my god. But as you go through YouTube, you realize that these messages are really hollow. They don't mean anything. But yeah, I mean, in some cases, like, no one is ever going to agree with you. Like, if everybody agreed on the same thing, well, we'd be living in a pretty bland world like Pleasantville. I'm just saying that no matter what, we agree on several things, but we're also going to disagree on several things. Like, for example, I have friends who like, you know, like Naruto Shippuden at this current point, and really I don't care. I don't really like the way the author's taking it down. I think it's going pretty bad. But, you know, we're still friends about it. We're cool. We talk about other things. You know, it's just that you can't expect your fans to agree with every little thing you say, like, no matter what. I mean, my definition of a like a fan of a person who watches your videos is that, like, they can take the good and the bad. They know when you do a great video, and they know when you're kind of, you know, slipping, you know, and you're you know, there's some things that they don't agree with personally. You know, they shouldn't just be a blind keyboard warrior, like, oh yes, no matter what, you know, because it's the type of people who can also critique me and agree with me at the same time, who I'll be able to have a more thought-provoking conversation, as opposed to the, you know, yes, master, yes.
Yeah, so you want feedback to work with, to let you know like when you are making mistakes, and like, oh, okay, this idea works, and perhaps that this idea doesn't work so well, I won't do it next time. Yeah, I think everybody, you know, especially when you first start off on the internet, it's you know, when you first get problems, when you first get like comments, I bet everybody takes them to heart, because you really don't, you're unaware of why you're getting this perceived hate and stuff like that. So next question, this leads into my next question. As a YouTuber, what advice would you give to people starting out on the internet? Are there any pitfalls and stuff that people should look out for? Can you, with your past experiences, can you give some advice to people who are starting out?
Well, just generally, the one piece of advice that I want everybody to take away from YouTube is, first off, just be patient. You know, these things, like getting a good fan base, views, subscribers, etc., these things take time. You know, like for me, for example, it took a while for me to get big, and, you know, it's going to take a while for you. You know, this thing doesn't happen overnight. You upload a video and then it gets like 30,000 views, 50 million likes. You know, you just have to be dedicated and continue doing this, you know, continue doing what you love. Because if you go into this saying, oh yeah, I'm going to get rich quick, and then you put up a video and it only gets like 15 views, you get discouraged and you're like, oh, forget this. Nah. You have to start this out with a passion. You have to start this out doing something you like. And later on the road, you're not even going to notice that you're getting all these views, that you're going to be earning revenue from this. You know, if you're going into this thinking money, let's get rich quick, that ain't going to happen.
Well, yeah, at least for a lot of people anyway. Any other advice on top of that? Could you think of?
Generally, I just say be yourself. You know, do the videos you want to do. You know, don't really try to mimic exactly what another person does. I mean, if you are inspired by other people, like let's just say, you know, I do vlogs on stuff and they want to do vlogs, that's cool too, but add your own spin on it, add your own style on it. Don't just do exactly what the other people say, like the crowd, the sheep, because we have far too many of those, especially when you go into like the commentating community for video games, like all of these people doing Call of Duty, you know, like after a while they all
on Call of Duty.
Oh god, after a while they all begin to start the same. They started the commentary saying, oh, what's up people, I'm back with this Call of Duty commentary, oh, I'm using the MP5K with adult sight and I'm using this perk, alright, I went down here and I killed this guy, picked up his gun. I mean, it's like even the people who do Call of Duty commentaries that I enjoy, they all begin to sound the same and do the exact same thing. There's no really originality going on. It's a stagnant thing. So just be yourself. If you want to break the common mold, cool. And even if you're not going to, at least add your own spin on it.
Yeah, that's good advice, I think. I agree with you on everything you've said there. Of course, for me, if you were to ask me again, remain as Chris has said, when you first start out, the best thing you can do is like keep a positive outlook. Don't go into it thinking that you are going to earn a lot of money out of it. Well, you might well do eventually down the road. Start you know, like become like the nostalgia critic or something, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. Like some internet celebrity who makes videos and actually makes quite a bit of money off the videos because you do entertaining videos. Because for the most part, 9 times out of 10, I would imagine, like not everybody gets to the top and gets recognition. So the best thing you can do is like keep a positive outlook, make videos that you are interested in. Of course, as Chris said again, if there's already videos that are similar to yours that are already out there, like a lot of let's plays or commentaries on video games like Call of Duty, try and think of try and add your own shtick or add your own personality to the videos that will entice viewers and subscribers to come in on their own accord. And of course, I think one thing that Chris didn't mention, I'd like to say to everybody, like if you're starting off on YouTube, don't cheat, don't use friend bots, don't use any trick in the book to get subscribers like in 5 minutes, because, well, for one thing, I hate you to the core. It's cheating. It essentially, I think it destroys the community because like your fan base is effectively false. You didn't earn them. You acquired them via some sort of cheating software, which I'm completely against. I think they should be banned, really. But like a lot of marketing companies and people, channels that subscribe to me on Twitter even use these like algorithm software things to get more people to follow them on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and stuff. I hate that. It's the best thing you can do is try and make your video as entertaining as possible. Try and experiment every now and then. And as like, of course, your early videos are probably going to get a lot of hate or stuff because they might not be a very good quality. Of course, your video quality, I'd guess, like as you make more videos, I guess like your videos become better. You get familiar with the hardware you're using, and of course, it takes a long time, as Chris said again, to get subscribed. I've barely got 200, but I wouldn't trade those 200 subscribers for the world, because it took me, I think it's well over a year to get just a mere 200, but I would not trade those subscribers for the world because they came on their own accord and they watch my videos regularly and give me feedback, and that's my advice I can give to people. So thanks for the advice, Chris. That's I think a lot of people out there will appreciate the advice, especially new people starting out. So okay, I will now pass this back over to you with another question. I don't want to talk too long. It is your podcast after all.
No, it is?
It's your episode dedicated to you, of course. Okay, so here is an anime question. Now, of course, unfortunately, due to timing, we weren't able to do. We're unable to do a live Twitter feed thing, so it's unfortunate. But hopefully, for the anime fans watching this on my channel, or if Chris decides to. I'll give you the MP3 or the video, by the way, Chris, if you want to upload a copy on your channel. That's absolutely fine.
Sure.
But I hope this is interesting for anime fans and everybody. So here's my first question. When did you first get interested in Japanese animations in general? Like, a lot of people will probably want to know, when did your love affair with anime, as it is known, first start off with? Did you first get interested in Cartoon Network, or how did it start?
Well, it can all date back to the late 90s when I first started watching Pokemon. Pokemon and actually Sailor Moon were like one of the first few shows where I would actually watch them. Then they weren't cartoons. I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. You know, there's a more concurrent story going along here, and I liked it because I was a fan of Batman the Animated Series back in the day, and you know, that had a more concurrent story. It wasn't just you know, mindless gags that happened there. So I was interested in it, and it wasn't really until I started watching Toonami, which is like the early 2000s, 2001, where I got introduced to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Rurouni Kenshin, where I started to actually find out, well, this is a completely different style of animation altogether. And I remember this. I went into the local grocery store with my mom one time, and I was not even 10 years old yet. I was like, I think 8. And there was this magazine called Shonen Jump, which, you know, premiered, like, I believe that year or a year before. And I was like, whoa, that's the guy from that TV show. It's Yusuke. And I bought my first issue there. And, you know, I've just been a fan ever since. So I'd say late 90s to early 2000s is how I got introduced. And it was obviously from, you know, Toonami.
Excellent stuff. And, okay, so your love affair with anime started off with Pokemon. I think that's to be honest, I think that's one of the earliest examples. That let me clarify. I know I know very little about anime and the whole kingdom of Japanese animation as a whole. So a lot of the stuff is going over my head. But I think a lot of your fans will know exactly. Shonen Jump is a manga. Is that right? Is that the? I think that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that? Some sort of a long-running animation magazine, is that right? Can you explain what Shonen Jump is?
Shonen Jump, well, the Shonen Jump that exists in the U.S. is essentially like a monthly series where they would have chapters from various series that you could read, and you know, that's essentially the bare bones definition of it. Yeah, that's Shonen Jump.
So what characters? I know it's like a mixture of a bit of everything. Is that?
Yeah.
It's got like a bit of Dragon Ball Z, I know, I think, and stuff. A whole bunch of. I don't know. Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, it's a hybrid of various different, primarily shonen-based series. You know, like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho. You know, Yu-Gi-Oh was in there a couple times. One Piece. You know, it's just a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it's a monthly thing. So you would like read all the chapters, and then they would come out. You know, paper bound, you know, like paperback, where you could, like, if you want to just read those stories, you can buy that volume. And you know, it was really cool. This was really before the time when the internet and anime was really introduced for me, like internet plus anime and the ability to watch episodes online. So Shonen Jump was really the only place I could see like the next part of the story unfold, because like I said, this is before like I was really introduced to the internet. I didn't really become big into the internet until like 05, 06. Yeah, but that's Shonen Jump again.
Cool stuff. Yeah, I don't want to like force these questions on you, but like I just
no problem.
Because I'm curious about the whole thing, and I'm trying to, unlike for people who don't, like on my channel, don't know what anime is. I'm trying to expand the universe a little bit more. So how does it differ in any way to the Japanese version? Of course, like it's got like the English translations, but is there any major differences that you know of between the two versions, or are they basically the same? The Japanese Shonen Jump and the American counterpart, are they both about the same, pretty much?
More or less, yes. The Japanese one has different series running in it than the North American one does. You know, they have they're farther along in the stories than we are, obviously, because of, localization and stuff. And there are a lot more running magazines in Japan than over here, whereas over here we'd have like Shonen Jump, and then they did Shoujo Beat, which is like a female-esque version where they had female series going. But in Japan they have like weekly Shonen Jump, they have monthly Shonen Jump, they have like companies have their own versions of it where they run their own series and such. It's just like, more or less at the end of the day it's the same thing. Ours is essentially a hybrid of it because in Japan they come out weekly. Over here, it's like we collect it all together into one book for a month.
So it's like a compilation volume. Okay, cool. So as you mentioned, you're talking about localization issues and stuff. Can you just to relate to, of course, like you're in discussion with your friends all the time and stuff, and I'd imagine a lot of your friends complain about the problems that you get with, particularly with anime DVD box sets and Blu-rays and different, the versions are different compared to the Japanese versions and the American versions and so forth. So, can you explain to people who don't know? Can you explain what localization is and like what sort of problems companies get into when, like, for instance, localizing a Japanese anime for the American market, for instance? Can you explain what that is?
Essentially what a localization is, where you would take a series and you would bring it to another country, and like since we're talking about anime, for example, we'll just say we'll take anime A and we're going to bring it over to the US and we're going to do an English dub of it, we're going to put it on TV, we're going to release it on DVD, Blu-ray, do subtitles, all that stuff. That's essentially what localization is, bringing it to a country, translating it so the people of that country can enjoy it the same way. However, like anything, problems do arise with localization because localization can be quite tricky. In the aspect of anime, if you ever wanted to bring something to the US, like you would have to, like for like really old shows that aren't like running at the same time in Japan. Like let's say we wanted to bring like a giant robot anime from the 80s. After a while, when an anime is finished in Japan, what they would do to try to make more money out of that series is they would sell off the rights to different people. And those rights can be rights to the animation, rights to the music, rights to the voice acting, etc., etc. And if you wanted to localize that show in the US, you would have to find all of the licensors and buy back the rights so you can release it here. And since, in some cases they can't find the licensors, you have to have all of them to release the show. So some shows, let's say have 4 out of 5 licensors, they can't release it because they're missing one, which is the music. And for some fans, if you don't have the original Japanese score, oh boy, will they pitch a hissy fit.
It's not just with anime, I think. People like to have the original like TV like as it was on TV. They don't want any edits. They want the original voice actors and stuff. But yeah, interrupting there. So carry on. Any other issues that you can think of on top of that?
Yeah, just generally licensing as its own is expensive and it's a tricky process. Even for newer series, they have to agree to a lot of things. Who's going to distribute it in the US? They have to look at, will this show really sell in the US? How are we going to do it? Is it going to be through iTunes? And frankly, that is the cause of why anime piracy and all this stuff, what's going on is so high, is because in some cases these licensings take forever to do and they're expensive, that people can't wait, they watch fan subs, whatever, and that's really one of the things that is killing the industry. There's just so much illegal downloading going on, even though you have like official sources where you could watch the anime free legally. Anime piracy is just people aren't buying the products anymore. And that also brings me into another discussion, which would be the archaic business plans of the Japanese, because the Japanese, they're behind on a lot of things. I'll be the first to admit that. Like when it comes to especially technology at this point, they really haven't caught on to the digital approach, the digital aspect, digital distribution.
I never thought of that. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of things contributing to the state of the industry and is now. I mean, it's definitely not a big a moneymaker now as it used to be 10 years ago, where it was the shiz everywhere. The industry has definitely been downsized. Not as many series are being created. It's generally saddening to see that some of my favorite anime directors can't make new series because they can't make funding. You know, it's part people not buying stuff, people being illegal and all that junk, but it's also partly the industry's fault when you have companies like Bandai, for example. Bandai wanted to do things like they did back in the day. Like nowadays, when you release an anime, it's done box sets, 13 episodes. But they wanted to do singles, 4 episodes, $20. And if you tell a person that, they're like, what? We're not going back to no singles.
Yeah, because the value for money thing comes in. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the. So you believe it's a whole range of problems that contribute to problems with the animation industry. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff I never really thought of. Really.
Yeah, like Funimation and Viz, for example, they're some of the kindest people you can ever meet. I've met with representatives of conventions. They want to do so many different things for the anime industry, but the final say always comes back from the Japanese. They have the final say on the voice actors. They have the final say on where it's going to be distributed, what television broadcast network. They have the final say on a lot of things, and they are really behind with things. It's like we're moving towards a digital age with everything, and digital books, e-readers, Amazon, Kindle, all that stuff. It's huge. Shonen Jump, Viz finally made the step forward and said, what, we have to do this. And the Japanese, they're stuck with, well, if it sells paperback, that's all we really need. But, you've also got a digital market where you could actually make more money because you don't have to manufacture the books.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of stuff contributes to a lot. There's still a lot of issues within the anime industry, and like with all those problems, as you said, not all the you believe in your view that the digital market isn't been exploited to the best degree, like even in Western markets and stuff. So yeah, that's interesting stuff. So that actually leads into my next question, actually. So how well do you believe that the anime industry as a whole is performing? Do you think it's in a state of decline in any shape? Of course, you've explained like the problems with the anime industry, but despite that, do you think the anime industry is in decent health, or do you think like there's a bit of stagnation going on there?
Yeah, I'd say like the anime industry is not as well off as it was a decade ago. Just generally speaking that, it's not really in the mainstream as much now as it used to be when it comes to broadcasting. But I still think that it's in decent, health. It's not going to die off anytime soon because, they're testing the waters for digital and stuff. But I just generally have to say that something's got to be done. The fans have to start supporting the series more than just, saying they will. And the Japanese companies have to kind of work more with the West on how they're going to release things digitally and release things faster. Simulcasting is when they, like, their anime in Japan, it can take them a while to come to the States, due to localization. But there are, like, some anime, new series that people want to watch, that they would pirate the episodes. So they step forward and do simulcast, where essentially you can watch them more or less English subbed at the exact same time they air in Japan. That's a huge step forward for the anime industry, because you think about that 10 years ago, you're like, what? That's impossible. We got to wait 3 months to get it. So they're trying new things, but the pace that they're going at, it's rather slow. I mean, I'm glad they're doing these things, but the world is just moving so fast, where technology gets outdated in 3 months.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And like we're in an age of internet, of course, where we can basically download everything what we want. In like, availability is a major problem, isn't it? Like people, I think, in a world of internet where you can download things at lightning speed, and like you can basically download whatever you want, like without actually going to the store and stuff. So you believe that like you like the fact that the anime industry is actually trying to alleviate these problems, but if you ask me, I think there's still quite a lot of obvious things that they could do. This is why I hate copyright, really. So if like copyright was a lot less was more lenient and stuff, and like perhaps copyright holdings and stuff, that would help with the localization thing. And perhaps, of course, they could, with digital distribution, they've really got to step up a gear if you think they're not manipulating that to a great enough effect, because pretty much most households have access to broadband speed internet and stuff, and like can download things at the blink of an eye. And if a particular program or an anime or TV program or whatever it is isn't available, people are going to pirate it, aren't they? Because I think it's fair to say, would you agree with this statement, that it's fair to say a lot of people wouldn't pirate their favourite anime franchises if the the anime was available for them to download legally, to pay, like, if they were available and more readily available on the internet? Would you agree with that?
Most definitely, yeah. If it was readily available here and, there was, like, no problems whatsoever, I would agree that most people actually end up buying the official release, but of course that's not the case. You got the scumbags who download anything under the sun. But I generally think that just because it's not here now, people want it, so they download it illegally. But the problem is you have people saying that, oh, I download it now, but when it comes out in the States, I'll buy it. Let's be honest, guys. If everybody thought like you, we wouldn't be having this problem now. Anime would be selling by the truckloads over here, but it's not, because there's no value in words anymore. However, I do think that with the Shonen Jump Alpha, which is a weekly digital manga stream thing they're doing, I think that that has more potential into broadening worldwide, as opposed to if they would release it physically, because digitally, you can just download it from a server. You don't have to pay to manufacture it. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to worry about them selling out. But the thing people have to remember is that if we want things like this to take out, these bold new steps, we have to support it in the homeland it's starting, which in this case is the U.S. If it's a big enough hit in the U.S., they'll start broadening out and moving to different territories. That's just the way everything works, when you're expanding your franchise.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you very much for enlightening us on what the problems of localization. Thank you very much for that, because you've made me think about a few things myself, and I didn't like some things I didn't know about the problems that companies face when trying to combat piracy, and the financial strain it takes to localize that, certain franchises in Western markets, especially with Dragon Ball Z. I would imagine is all the sagas and stuff on DVD? I'm not sure. Are they all available, readily available now, or are there still a few problems with that?
More or less in North America, Dragon Ball Z is readily available no matter what you want to do. If you want to buy GT, Dragon Ball Z Kai, you can buy it in whatever form you want. That's fine. But there are several other series that sadly have not gotten finished yet, because I don't know, the company went bankrupt, or there's not enough interest in said series to continue. But for the big popular series that people like to talk about, they're more or less completed over here, and they're still being produced because, hey, they make money.
Oh, cool stuff. Because I was just thinking, Dragon Ball Z, with that massive... it's a juggernaut, isn't it? It's still... But I think even people who don't know a lot about anime, I think it's the one that, like, people... I know name an anime, and it's like, it'll be Dragon Ball Z pretty much every time. I think that's the the one with, like, with the orange jumpsuits and the fireballs being blasted everywhere and the spirit bombs and stuff.
Dragon Ball Z is just its own...
massive universe, yeah. And I was just thinking,
and it's still being, like, the anime has been over for almost 20 years.
That long?
1995, so it's technically 17 years. Well, close to 20, yeah. But I mean, they're still making video games. They're still producing action figures. They're still producing clothes. They're still producing postcards. They're still producing everything because it's its own giant juggernaut. I mean, it's always gonna sell, and as long as they keep producing the DVDs that people want, I mean, that's good. That's great. But I think Japan, when marketing these series, they want to make the next Dragon Ball Z, obviously. But not every series is going to have the same effect.
No, because I guess everything fell into place for that franchise. It was heavily syndicated. Is it still heavily syndicated over there on the networks over there? It still is over here, Dragon Ball Z is.
Well, not Dragon Ball Z. We have Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is technically like the better version. It's the one closer to the manga. It's syndicated on at least 2 networks. You know, it's still bringing in the views, man. I mean, even like the Nicktoons network is not a channel available on basic cable. You need like a TV box, satellite, and on its premiere, it pulled in the highest ratings in the broadcast channel's history.
That's pretty crazy, and that's not a franchise that they produce themselves. That's like something they imported, and it's the biggest. That's pretty insane. But yeah, you can talk about Dragon Ball Z all day.
God,
because there's an awful lot. We can basically record 3 years worth of content explaining all that
Jesus
stuff.
Christ, talk about every single thing.
Yeah, I think we're going to leave it at that. But thank you very much for answering that question for us. Okay, so I'm going to leave the world of anime. Now we're going to move on to another area, another topic that you are really fond of, and it's PC gaming. So, woohoo indeed. Very recently you decided to upgrade your PC rig and decided to get involved with the PC gaming community. So what made you decide to actually start off like considering PC gaming as an alternative to the consoles? When did this actually start?
It started around 2010. You know, I follow a lot of people on YouTube, and they would talk about PC and PC gaming, and I'd be like, that seems kind of interesting. So I started looking into it, you know, and I actually started to think about actually saving on money to get a competent computer, but that sort of fell off the radar, and it wasn't until like I believe it was like last year around May or so when I was leaning towards the end of the school year. I had nothing to play on my PS3. I was like, and then you know, graduation, I came into some money. I'm like, oh, hey, maybe this is a good time to buy that PC. So I bought it, and I gotta say it was one of the best decisions of my life. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. I just generally, from recommendations from friends, I can definitely say.
So yeah, it's so what are the advantages, would you say, of having a decent PC rig over, like, instead of opting to buy games on the consoles? What are some of the advantages, would you say, are most important to you?
To me, definitely, first and foremost, better performing games. 99% of the time, the games they look better, they run better. You can do so many things to the games. You know, make them look their best, make them perform their very best. And you know, you can also mod things. You can add some crazy user content. There's not as many restrictions on PC like there are with consoles when it comes to games. The games are cheaper as well. I mean, right out the box, $10-15 less, and you know, with Steam and good old games and all these other sources, you can get games for like ridiculously cheap, like Deus Ex Human Revolution. I got that on like 2 weeks after release. I got it for like $25. And you know, that's a great damn game.
Yeah, and compared to the console versions, it's ridiculous. It's a lot more cheaper, isn't it? That's one of the main things that entices you to buy the PC version. So you get a lot more for your money, essentially, don't you? And what's your opinion on like downloadable games? Do you mind actually? You know, because of course, like, do you prefer to have like a library of disc-based games on your shelf, or do you prefer to have everything stored on a hard drive? Like, do you think disc is it basically the end of DVD and Blu-ray for the future of video games? Is everything going to be download only? What do you think on this?
Well, as far as PC is concerned, I don't really care if it's downloadable or disc. Generally downloadable because it's cheaper with digital distribution. You know, the developers make more money, we get the games cheaper. So for PC gaming, I generally think that way is the way to go. And I mean, honestly, you know, it's been that way. But there is still a really big market for retail PC games. You know, people just buy them because they want to buy them, and in some cases their internet can't handle it. However, when it comes to gaming on consoles, I generally think that I would rather collect the games because buying the games, like full retail games on PSN and Xbox Live, is just such a hassle. I mean, they're ridiculously overpriced. They're huge file sizes for the little hard drives that they give you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and going back to price, it's just wow. Seriously, Microsoft, you're going to charge that much because they can. But I don't ever think that retail will die off so soon. I mean, eventually, retail is going to cease to exist for video gaming, and it's going to be all digital. But that's not going to happen for at least a decade. The world standard for broadband internet is just nowhere near the level it needs to be to compensate for, let's just say, 75% of the world to download games. Like, everyone has to be at like a certain standard so they can download gigs of data for a game.
Yeah, because the average Blu-ray disc is about 25 gigabytes. Am I right? So
yeah,
imagine. Well,
Jesus
I think.
Christ.
Let's compare broadband speed. So, what sort of megabit are you working on at the moment with you? What's the average speed that you're able to get in your home in New York exactly?
Well, I don't really know the speed that we can all get, but I know like when I'm using the computer all to myself, I can get around 2.4 megabytes to like a download speed. I don't know like if it's there's like that, and then there's the other one where it's like, oh, what you get.
So that's very quick. So you get about on average 2. On a good day you get about 1.5 megabyte to 2 megabytes on average a second download. So that's pretty quick. So you can download a standard PC game off Steam for in about half an hour. Say, I think that's very quick. Over here, I'm using BT broadband. I'm using the old primitive ADSL service, which is the old, basically trying to make the old Victorian copper pipe to emulate broadband speeds. It's very difficult to do. We still haven't got fibre optic in our street yet. The average speed on it's pathetic. On Steam, we're lucky. We get about 300 kilobytes a second. On Steam's pretty good at downloading stuff, but at night, when about 3 o'clock in the morning, it goes up to about 1 megabyte a second on average for an average download. So yeah, that's a good point. The infrastructure overall, it just isn't there yet for retailers to start worrying about losing their inventory, like the discs to sell to the public. So, yeah. I know this is possibly going to be a personal question, but how much on average, can you remember how much did you spend on actually building your PC rig? What sort of specs is your PC sporting at the moment? How much did it cost to build? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, altogether, like the thing when it comes to PC gaming, you can do it one of two options. You can either build the rig yourself, you buy the parts yourself, and then you get them, and then you put them together, or you could buy a pre-built model. Pre-built models, essentially, they're not really made for upgrading that well. Like if you want to buy the standard line model, if you want to make it like uber powerful, you're gonna have to buy more parts. But my rig cost me $675. If I built it myself, I calculated this, I would have saved an estimated $125, $150. But like that rig can play games beautifully. I can max practically every game I want. And it's just great. I'm not getting just a good gaming PC. I'm getting a great computer altogether. I'm able to stream video games onto live streaming sites. I'm able to edit HD videos at the speed of light, multitasking like a boss.
Like a boss.
So when you're investing into a PC that's good for gaming, you're not just getting a gaming PC, you're also getting a great computer, which is why the price is what it is. When you're buying a console, of course it's going to be cheaper because it's primarily for gaming. It's not meant to do other things. With a PC, you're also getting like another beast, a great computer for other things as well.
So you spent less than $700 on a really high-end PC rig. That's insane. That's so much cheaper than what we have to spend on probably the equivalent machine. So what sort of specs, if you don't mind me asking, does your machine have? What sort of speed are you running and hard drive space, that sort of thing?
Well, I've got 3 terabytes of space. I have 8 gigabytes of RAM. For my GPU, I have an HD Radeon 6790. I have a AMD Phenom quad-core processor, and I think that's pretty much all the relevant specs. But PC gaming, the thing about people have to understand is that when they go on YouTube and see the videos that people do where they unbox their $3,000 rigs, you know, and they look at Alienware and they see the prices for that, that is not the standard price for PC gaming. No. That's just the people who have a lot of the time on their hands and they have the money they want and they spend it the way they want it, so they get top of the line everything. You don't need top of the line everything to run a game really, really good. So I mean, like, my friend built a PC for himself for like $350, and he can run games on high, you know, 50 frames, which is considerably better than Xbox and PS3.
Which generally tapers off about 30 frames per second, usually, isn't it, on the consoles?
If you're lucky, Deus Ex goes down to 18 frames per second.
Yeah, I think there's a few. It does dip a bit, the frame rate on the Xbox version, but I haven't played the PC version. But I'd imagine the PC version runs at 60 frames without dropping at all, and you can push it a lot further and stuff. So there's a lot of advantages you could to having a good all-round PC rig. Going back to price again, I'd just like to compare prices again, but. To build a $700 machine, which works well, I think that works out as about roughly £400, the equivalent. Which, if you can build a high-end PC for £400, that's crazy. If you're able to do that, good luck to you. But the general price that we pay. So, from what you've said, PC gaming is a much more appealing option if you are in the American market, because you can buy parts and stuff a lot cheaper, and everything over here in the UK is at a fucking premium. I like to say that.
Yeah, my friend lives in Australia, and he built his PC. You know, it cost him sometimes twice as much as mine.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to my world. To compare prices, my PC rig, which is a really good PC rig. I got it last Christmas. It's a custom built machine. It costed £1,100, and trying to remember the specs. And it comes with.
Oh my god!
It came with a 2 terabyte hard drive, 3 gigahertz quad core, and.
Damn, man, you're doing it wrong.
It's not my fault. The parts are expensive, and like this is like and that was at friends' rates as well, because that was it. The guy that built the PC for me is a friend of my dad's, and he knocked the price down for us, which is good. But comparing the prices, it's a joke over here.
Oh god, yeah.
To have a decent PC rig, but once you've got one, you can. The advantages are there. You've got a really good PC rig that can handle editing video if you're a YouTuber, and you can play games at a lot more with a much higher fidelity, better frame rate, better draw distances, the works and stuff. So there are advantages in that respect, if you ask me. So are there any more advantages to PC gaming that you want to bring up, or is that basically everything that you can think of?
I just like the freedom aspect of PC gaming. You're not really restricted to so many things like you are on consoles. You know how Sony and Microsoft have their regulations. You know, Valve are able to do a lot more things with their service, as well as the developers. They're able to put up deals for their games. And just it's a lot more free. You can, like, what I also love, since it's a multitasking machine. You can voice chat with people in the game. You can pull up Skype, talk with people, play your game, and then, open another game if you want, so you can multitask.
2 screens, 3 screens. You can have multiple monitors as well, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah. If you have a 3-monitor setup and, you're streaming a game on Blog TV, one monitor can be for the game, one monitor can be from the chat box, and another monitor can be for, I don't know, your desktop or something.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I've only got the room for one monitor, but I'd love to have a multi-screen setup where you can... like, people have got really cool setups where, like, if you're playing like a racing game, you've got like the monitor on the right is for like the right window, and the left monitor is like the left window, and like, what the hell? You got 360 field of view, which is crazy. And you can't do that on the consoles because they don't have enough processing power in them. Even the almighty PS3, there's some people say it's like it does have a lot of power in the PS3 compared to the Xbox, but you can get a PC that can basically trounce it in every department in terms of sheer processing power, and with a lot more RAM as well. So
The PS3 has a really good processor, but the graphics card and the amount of RAM.
It's
really
the RAM
hold it back
mostly that
from-
really holds it. It's only got a quarter of a gig of RAM.
Yeah, as opposed to like the Xbox, you know, and the PC. It's just like Sony when they were designing this thing. I don't know. They say this would be like the machine for everybody, but that RAM is holding it back from doing the simplest things like cross game chat.
That was quite a major oversight for them. They basically, if I were to describe it in cartoon, well, I'm being a bit of a fanboy now, but I think the PS3 is has major design flaws, and like they basically filled it with a top of the line back then 7-core processor with all those cores in it, and they basically bottlenecked it with only a quarter of gigabyte of RAM. So in car terms, they took the engine out of a Ferrari and put it in like a Honda Civic or something. So
that
it
was
was so that
ridiculous. Like, when they were
basically it
designing
can't, unless the developer's really clever like Naughty Dog, that it can really push the hardware.
Like only few developers on PlayStation know how to utilize the hardware to its fullest, like Naughty Dog, Gorilla. Only really the exclusive developers, and that's mainly because Sony is able to give them more funding, and you know they have a lot more time, and Sony has a bit of, well, they have a standard that they must adhere to. You must make this game pretty. Put PlayStation Move. Put 3D.
Yeah, and you can claim a lot of stuff that Xbox has a lot of problems as well. I will clarify that. Red Ring of Death and crashing on every now and then, mine does. So, just for the sake of balance, but, putting only a quarter of gigabyte of RAM in the PlayStation is ridiculous. Like it just cannot, for the most part, developers can't utilize the power of the 7 processors because there's not enough RAM to deal with it. So, but yeah,
exactly. That's why for the first 2 years of PlayStation, they didn't even have overlays. Like, you know how you press the Xbox button, you get like your friends list.
Yeah, the
you can send them a
dashboard
message.
menu. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing for Steam, Shift Tab. But with PlayStation, for 2 years, you press the home button, it says, you want to quit the game? And that's it. And even nowadays, when you would bring up the overlay, for certain games, it's so laggy.
Yeah. So again, that's another problem with with consoles. That's one of the big PC gaming. That's one of the big pluses over consoles. You can do a lot more with them. You've got they can do a lot more stuff with the PC, providing you've got the money to fork out for one. And of course, it's a lot easier to get a PC in America, build a PC in America because of the much cheaper components and stuff. So you really do have it lucky over there. Just to wrap things up, can you think of like a game that's drastically different on the console compared to the PC version? Like, can you think of a notable game that you like that has major differences on the PC compared to the console? Can you think of any?
Well, from the games that I've played, majority of the time, they really do try to keep them the same across all platforms. They don't want to make radically different versions. Of course, the PC version will perform better, have a different user interface. But for the majority of times, the games I've played, they're more or less they're more or less the same, except the PC version is, more powerful and stuff. But there are some games that really need to stay on PC, and there's some games that really just need to stay on consoles. Like, for example, Total War Shogun 2. I don't really think that's really fit for the console audience as well. I mean, because look at it.
It looks pretty ugly. I don't know. Does it look pretty ugly on the consoles or?
Oh no! It's not available.
Oh,
on
I see.
consoles.
Okay.
I mean, like the type of game it should stay on PC as well as consoles. I think that hack and slash, action games like Bayonetta should stay on the consoles, and the PC should have their own games. I mean, at the end of the day, since I own the platforms, I benefit because I can play all types of games. I mean, that's the thing when people see videos of you talking highly of one platform. Oh, you're a fanboy of that platform. Well, I do prefer the PC. I still love my PS3. I love my Wii. I mean, being a gamer, you should be able to look past those barriers, those systems, the plastic, the corporations, and actually play the games you want to play. You're going to get the Wii for the Marios, Metroid, Zeldas. You're gonna get the PS3 for the Uncharted's, for the Sly Coopers, for the the Infamouses. You're gonna get an Xbox for the Halos, for the Gears. Being a gamer shouldn't be about, oh man, I have this one system, I'm better than everybody. No, if you're a true gamer, you play all types of games.
So and of course you've got to of course, like, well, you can always say that the PC is always going to be ahead of the consoles, but you got to remember that the consoles are mass produced, and they're deliberately not as powerful as the PCs, in order to keep costs down and make them approachable to like casual gamers and the standard gamers who can't afford, for instance, to have a decent PC rig, which is, I think, most people. So that's what the consoles are for, and you got to. And that's not to say some console games look fantastic on the console. And like you got Uncharted 3.
Oh yeah.
Like they really push the hardware, and you think this is really impressive. And how they've done it with essentially 5 or 6 years old hardware. The Xbox and PlayStation are getting quite long in the tooth now, and it's only very recently, in the last few years, that they've managed to. Developers are starting to like get to know the hardware a bit more and push them even further and do all sorts of crazy effects which they couldn't do in the initial launch window and stuff. The consoles are awesome, but PC. The differences between PC games and Xbox games are the same. The versions can be quite drastic. For my example, to wrap things up, like the main difference between PC games, I like to take the original Mass Effect, for instance. It was originally released on Xbox, and then a year later it was ported to the PC, and the PC version runs at 60 frames per second. The draw distances are better, a lot of the glitches have been ironed out, and of course you've got access to some really cool texture mods and all sorts of stuff, which you can...
Oh, that's what I noticed about Mass Effect. Like, when I first played Mass Effect, I love the story, but that was a really, really rough around the edges technical game.
Yeah, it was, but it was made in 2007. It was made 5 years ago, and it was the first.
Uncharted came out in 2007.
Well, yeah, but I think it was the first type of. They never really made a shooter game, though. Really, though, did they? BioWare, they're more of an RTS sort of developer, so I guess they weren't really familiar with. They got better later on with Mass Effect 2 and 3 and stuff. But going back to like with the mod, as you were saying with the mods, that you get some really awesome mods for the PC versions of games, and you get some really cool. You can play about with the settings and push the rig to really utilize more RAM and stuff, and like add more missions. There's all sorts of stuff that you can't do with the console versions because the console manufacturers won't let you, for the most part, and that's where consoles. I think if console, designers, like Microsoft and Sony, were more open to the modding community, I think more games would be made available for the consoles, because the community is more open, and they're able to modify things and change a few things and play the game how they want, which is the case on PC, but not for the most part on the consoles and stuff. So that's why PC gaming is a lot of fun. Feel free to add me on Steam. I don't know about Chris, but we both got Steam. We play. Last game we played was Left 4 Dead. Awesome multiplayer game on the PC. It's just a shame we suck at it. But
oh God, yeah. No, well, it's not us. It's a particular person whose name will not be mentioned.
Yeah, someone who's not in the chat at the moment.
Keeps attracting the witch.
Like the guy who our favourite associate who refuses to leave the witches alone, even when we scream at them, scream into the microphone at him like, "Leave the witch alone! Please leave the witch! Oh, you disturbed the witch!"
Oh, I'm gonna go hug the witch.
he's just an idiot. I just will say that. Okay. We've now spoken for over an hour, and so I think we're going to wrap things up, because I think Chris has got a lot of work to do. And I'd like to thank you very much, Chris, for helping me out with this podcast. Thank you very much for being a guest on this show. It's very much appreciated. Answered a lot of really cool questions. Thank you very much for joining in, and of course to the viewers and listeners out there, feel free to make any comments down below in the comments box and let us know what you think. And I don't know who's going to be my next guest. It's going to be difficult to top the almighty anime king NeoGameSpark, but again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye, folks.